Hello students, last time we had discussed about the torque, principle of moments and the questions based on them. Today we will discuss about few numeric problems related to that topic and also about your homework, which was actually what is center of gravity and the center of gravity of different shapes and uniform circular motion. Okay, so let's start from theoretical portion first. What is center of gravity? Today first we will discuss about it. So our title is center of gravity. Fine. So what is center of gravity? If I go through the simple theoretical definition for any given body, any rigid body, it's a point about which, suppose a body is built up of or made of multiple tiny particles of masses m1, m2, m3 and so on, n number of particles. So each particle, if I say we are talking about this point, so about a point, each particle is trying to produce its own torque or moment of force, right? Its weight is acting downward, say m1g. Okay, in the same way its weight is also acting downward, m2g, m3g. In the same way, the weight of each particle is acting in downward direction, mng. So each part, if I say we have suspended this body about this point, so this point is trying to rotate the body about this point or about this axis in a positive, we can say anti-clockwise direction, and these particles are trying to rotate in the clockwise direction. So as each and every point lying on the body is producing a torque, and if I say the body is balanced about this point, so it must be balanced by all torques, means the net sum of all torques should be 0, means the total torque of left and the total torque of right, they must be equal and opposite. Okay, so in that way the body is to be balanced. So at that time, if about this point the body is in rotational equilibrium, the body is in equilibrium, means the net torque, net force acting on the body is 0. So at that time this point is called center of gravity. Because why? Because these weights, and the weight is the force of gravity of acting on a particular body. Okay, so obviously the torque due to all weights is 0. The sum of all torques which are developed due to the weights of these particles, the sum is 0 about this point. So at that time this point will be called center of gravity. So this point will be called center of gravity if and only if torque due to m1, m2, or you can say due to weights, or torque let's say torques due to m1g, m2g and so on, mng about this point are sum up to 0. So at that time we can say this point should be called center of gravity. Let's try to define this thing in a very practical way. So right now let's assume about this scale. Okay, so this scale is we are assuming that it is made up of multiple particles. Okay, and I just want to find out its center of gravity. So let's check its weight and all the weight of all the particles, they are acting perfectly downward direction, so they are trying to produce their own torque. So if I try to imagine that this is the point, or this is the required point about which the total torque is 0, so it would be wrong. So because as soon as I leave the scale from the other end, so obviously it will move in downward direction. So it means their torques are not being balanced here, right? So ultimately we can say that this is not the desired point, this is not the center of gravity. And what about this point? Again, no. What about this point? If I leave it, no. So ultimately we can see here, and if I suspend the scale about this point, no. Now this time it is producing a opposite torque, right? So about this point, no. So you can simply imagine, okay sir, if you hold this scale exactly in between, if it is symmetric, equal. If I hold it in exactly in between. So the total torque on the left side and total torque on the right side, they are equal and opposite. So it will be balanced about this. So net torque is 0. So this point will be called the center of gravity. Okay. So I hope this point is very clear for you that what is center of gravity, and now the definition is very clear also for you. Now let's move to the examples of center of gravity. There for geometrical shapes, or we can say perfectly defined geometrical shapes, we can simply find out the center of gravity. For an example, for equilateral triangle lamina, for this, the center of gravity will lie at the common intersection point of their medians. At this point, it would be center of gravity capital G. It is represented by capital G. Okay. For a cylinder, you can find out center of gravity. Actually, there is a table given in your book. For this, it is exactly in between of the intersection of their geometrical axis, which is bisecting it. So this is center of gravity. It is lying inside it. For a cone, you can even find it out. For a solid one, it would be h by 4 at a height of h by, if I say its height is h, so it will lie at somewhere h by 4 height. For a hollow, it would be h by 3. So yes, you can use that table to identify. Now the major point is that few bodies are having center of gravity out from their structure actually, out from their metal structure actually, like ring. The total mass distributed in the ring is this. But if I talk about center of gravity, it should lie here. So you can find it out. So I hope that table will be helpful for you to find out the center of gravity for the given regular shapes. But what about irregular shapes like this for irregular lamina? So let's talk about the method to find the center of gravity for irregular lamina. Now let's talk about the method which is used to find out the center of gravity for a given irregular lamina. So what will we do? Suppose we are having this irregular shape lamina for which we need to find out the center of gravity. So do one thing, just make 3 or 4 narrow holes closer to the edges. 3 or 4 narrow holes like this. Okay, and now do one thing. Use a plumb line and a retard strand. Retard strand is used for example, a simple strand which is present in your chemistry lab also. This strand and with a nail. You can see there is the strand and you have placed or you have fixed a nail, it's fine. Okay, like this. So you are going to use two things. One, the strand, and the second is plumb line. Plumb line is an instrument which is used to detect the perfect vertical gravitational direction. You must have seen this thing. It is used by carpenters to draw the perfect vertically downwards line, and to even used by those workers who simply build houses. They use this thing to detect the perfect vertical gravitational line. Okay, so we will use this thing also, the plumb line. So do one thing, suspend the plumb line on this nail after by suspending the lamina through its one hole from this nail. Okay, let's see, there are 3 holes A, B, C. So what should it look like? So it will be suspended through the nail in this way. Okay, and you have suspended the plumb line also. Fine. So ultimately, and leave it, do not attach the plumb line with this. Only it is just having a support with this lamina. Fine. And now just oscillate the lamina by pushing it in a particular direction little bit. Okay. It will oscillate and it will stop usually in a particular position, okay, about the point for which the net torque is 0. So just draw a line along with the plumb line. So you will have to draw a line with the help of plumb line. So we will draw a line along with the plumb line like this. Repeat the process for the remaining holes also. Repeat this process. For A, suppose we are getting this, and for B we are getting this, and for C we are getting this. So ultimately they will intersect. You will find it in the experiment. So they are intersecting each other at a particular point, at a common point. That common point would be the center of gravity. So this is the way to find out center of gravity with the help of plumb line and a strand for a given lambda. Okay. So I hope this section is very clear for you, the center of gravity, and you will be able to solve the questions. Actually, I will post an assignment related to this chapter also. Okay. Now let's move to the next topic, that is uniform circular motion. Now let's talk about uniform circular motion. Okay, uniform circular motion. Actually, the cause of circular motion we had discussed during the top topic, that whenever we are applying a force at the end of a rod which is pivoted or fixed from its one end, and we are exerting a force, not only this force is responsible, actually there is another type of force which is acting towards the center or towards the fixed end. Yes, that force, due to which ultimately the particle is not moving in a forward direction, it is actually moving angularly in a particular direction like this, right, due to the resultant force. And if we keep applying the force on the body, again it will get displaced angularly because this force is also acting. We have discussed it in the terms of intermolecular forces or the metallic bonds between the particles of the rod, right? So again it will keep moving angularly in a particular direction. So you will see one interesting fact here, that the body will start to move ultimately in a circular path in this way around the fixed end, like this. Okay, the body is moving in a circular path. So if I draw it properly, so it should look like this. The body is moving in a circular path about a point. Now few points we need to consider about this. We have an idea, okay, fine, that one force is actually trying to move the body in forward direction, due to which it starts to move. So if I keep its speed constant, means the body is moving with a constant speed. See, I am not talking about velocity, I am talking about speed. So if the body is moving in the circular path with a constant speed, then it will be called a uniform circular motion. Means for uniform circular motion, body moves in a circular path with a constant speed. Why we are calling it a constant speed, not velocity? Let me tell you how. Why? Because if we talk about the velocity would be the tangential direction, because the body actually was trying to move linearly. Only due to this center targeted force, the body was moving in a circular path, right? Otherwise the body was trying to move in a linear way. That's why if I say its velocity, so velocity is a vector quantity. Velocity is a vector, means it is having a particular direction. So even they are having the same speed, but every time whenever you focus the motion of the body on its circular path on a different position, the velocity of the body will have a different direction. Okay, tangentially it will have a different direction every time. It doesn't matter that you are talking about this position P1 or this position P2 or another position like this one P3, body will have a different direction. So each and every point lying on the circular path will have a different direction of velocity even after they are having the same values, magnitudes. So we need to represent each velocity by a different variable, v1, v2, v3. So velocities are different by direction. Velocities are different by direction. Okay, so but if we talk about their values, magnitudes, in mathematics magnitude is represented by this symbol. Okay, so the magnitude of v1, the magnitude of v2, the magnitude of v3, they are actually same. You can say v. The magnitudes are same. So that type of motion is called uniform circular motion. Now one question arises here that we have not introduced this type of force which is actually responsible for the circular motion. You know why? Let me tell you one thing that we had discussed about. Okay, one force is responsible for to move it in a forward direction. It is trying to move in a forward direction, but another force is trying to keep the body center targeted. So what is this force? So actually this force is known as centripetal force, but let me tell you, centripetal force is not some kind of a force in itself. It is a category of forces. Each and every force which is responsible to cause the circular motion will be called a centripetal force if it is targeted or it is having a direction towards the center of the circular path. So centripetal force, please pay attention on this thing. Centripetal force is not a force in itself. You will never find any kind of centripetal force, a different type of a force. No, it is a category of a force. Each and every force that force will be known as centripetal force, which is causing circular motion by targeting or by directing towards the center of the circular path. Each and every that force will be known as centripetal force. Let me tell you with an example. If we are trying to revolve the stone by tying it with a thread, and we are revolving it on a circular path, so obviously you will experience a tightness in the thread, right? That tightness or we can say tension in the thread is actually trying to protect the thread from being broken. Okay, so ultimately that tension is actually acting in the we can say towards the center, acting in the direction which is directing towards the center of the circular path. Every time this tension is acting in this direction, T stands for tension. It's a type of force. Okay, so this time tension is acting as a centripetal force. So here the centripetal force is mathematically equal to the tension in the string. Another example, if I talk about Earth is revolving around the Sun, so ultimately the gravitational force is trying to pull the Earth towards the Sun, the gravitational force of the Sun. So this time gravitational force is acting as a centripetal force, which is causing the Earth to revolve on a circular path or an elliptical path. So ultimately every time, whatever, it doesn't matter that which kind of circular motion you are using as an example. In the case of that rod, when last lecture we were discussing about the top. So intermolecular forces between the particles, they were trying to prevent that particle to move away from the other particles at that time. So those intermolecular forces were acting towards the center of the circular path. They were acting as a centripetal force at that time. In the same way, if we talk about nucleus and the electron revolving around the nucleus, so electric force, because their charge is nucleus is positively charged, right? Due to the presence of protons, electrons are negatively charged. So ultimately they will experience an electric force. So this electric force is responsible for the circular motion. So ultimately it is known as centripetal force. So every that force which is causing the circular motion and directed towards the center of the circular path is known as a centripetal force. So here tension, gravitational force or electric force are acting as a centripetal force. That's why I always say that centripetal force does not have its own existence. It needs a cause to exist. Okay, it is not a force in itself like electric force or that type of force. It is a category of a force, a category of forces. Fine. So in a body and they are directing towards the center of the circular path always. Such type of forces are known as centripetal forces. So I hope centripetal force is very clear for you. And what is the meaning of uniform circular motion? Okay, so for uniform circular motion, the body must revolve with a constant speed or by fixed value of its velocity. Direction would be different every time. Okay, so now another thing here comes that if a body is being accelerated towards the center, why don't it go towards the center every time? If it is being accelerated towards the center, because if forces are acting towards the center, then it should go towards the center, but it is not going at all. And for a person who is actually standing or who is actually revolving on the same circular path, or we can say with the same circular speed, if I say it's a disc and another person is lying on the disc with this particle but on a different radius, let's say person, this one, a person A, M or anything else. So for this person, the body is at rest, means it is not actually going anywhere because there is revolving with it also, right? So ultimately for this person the body is not being accelerated in a particular direction, but it should have actually it is accelerating in a every time because its direction is changing every time. So for this person the total force must be 0, but it is experiencing force, centripetal force. So to be of the total force 0, there must be an imaginary force, and that imaginary force is hypothetically balancing this centripetal force by being exerted in just opposite direction. Means that hypothetical means imaginary force is acting in just opposite direction and it is mathematically equal to centripetal force. If I say it is centripetal force, so that force must be in opposite direction, and it should be mathematically equivalent to centripetal force, so that net force for this person, appearing net force, is 0, which satisfies this condition. So this is the existence, or here comes the existence of centrifugal force, which is, if I erase this thing, you can pause the video and copy this thing also. So here centrifugal force CFF, it is a fictitious or imaginary force. It is an imaginary force or fictitious force, centrifugal force, which is mathematically equivalent to centripetal force, mathematically meaning by value, but acting in the opposite direction. So the centripetal force. So that for this person, the body for this person the net force or resultant force would be 0. And you can even see this thing in real life. The body is not going outwards or inwards. Actually, it is still moving on a stable circular path. So for the stable circular path, the centripetal force and centrifugal force, they must be mathematically equal and opposite, right? And as soon as the thread we can say break, as soon as the thread breaks, so the body will move tangentially, because the only one force or only one directional inertia is responsible for this movement of the body. It was trying to move straight. Due to this centripetal force, it was moving in the circular path. So as soon as this centripetal force loses its effect, the body still try to go in the tangential direction or on the linear path. That's why whenever you are trying to revolve a stone by tying it with a thread and suddenly thread breaks, so the stone will go tangentially outwards. Okay, so I hope this entire thing is very clear for you. In your syllabus, its mathematical formula is not there, but for your extra knowledge, I am just going to tell you the generalized formula for centripetal force. If I say its circular path radius is r and the tangential velocity value is v and the particle's mass is m, so the formula for its centripetal force is, mathematical formula for centripetal force is, or I should say centrifugal force, because it is directed towards outward. So centripetal force or centrifugal force for a balanced circular motion, I should say balanced circular motion, it would be mv square upon r. mass into velocity square upon r. Okay, so this is the mathematical formula which is not present in your syllabus, but you should have the knowledge of this thing because for competitive exam it will be helpful for you. So I hope this entire points about uniform circular motion is very clear for you. Now you will be able